you told me he published 50 years after his death. It was published. So who took
It
care
was
of
printed.
this?
It was printed,
It was printed.
in about half a century after his death. Yeah.
And so there must have been some continuity. What happened to all the materials?
Well, the material again, we don't have the original manuscript that disappeared, because it was on a ship that went back to Holland, and the ship was blown out of the water by a French squadron, because all of a sudden Holland was at war with France, and nobody knew about it in the Indies, because it took a year for news to get from Europe to the Indies. So nobody knew that they were at war with France. And anyway, this one ship that had his manuscript on it was shot below the waterline and sank in the Gulf of Biscay. So, and they had the original manuscript, and that's gone.
So how did we get copies?
So what happened was that there was the Governor General at the time, a man by the name of Kamphuis, was an ardent, which by the way most of them were at the time, was an ardent naturalist or botanist. So for his own edification, he ordered to have that manuscript copied
Before it went on the ship.
before it went on the ship.
Oh my God.
And it's the only reason we have it today.
So how much of this was done between the age of 42, when he went blind, and his death?
I have no idea.
A lot, probably, huh?
No.
Or was
we
it
should
really
hang on
done
a
by
second,
the
let me
time
see.
yeah.
No, well, by the time he became blind, he had the first half done.
Okay,
So,
you have a good idea.
Let me think. And then, there is some problem about the second half. So, look, he probably, by the time he became blind, I would say that 60% done.
Now, he ordered it by when people came to him? I mean, how did he order this prodigious amount of botanical information?
How did he order it? He ordered, ironically, according to the information and the designation of names by the local people.
But, well, what order? But I mean, uses of the plants?
No, not uses. No. It was definitely
there
first.
was no alphabetical order in Dutch by the names?
No, he ordered it in terms of what we would call probably families and phyla in a way.
Oh, so it was systematic in the
Oh,
sense
it was
the
systematic.
relation among the plants.
Yeah.
So he put the rosaceous plants together, and he put the orchids together.
Yeah.
So he recognized plant family as the unit, which is still
I would say
recognized.
so, yeah.
Orchidaceae and Leguminosae, and that's still the basis of learning.
Yeah. By the way, to talk about orchids, he was the first to describe tropical orchids,
The tiny seeds.
and he was the first one to describe epiphytes,
Yes.
which of course nobody in Europe had ever heard of, and they wouldn't believe it if they had. So there are all kinds of firsts.
Now, did he recognize that orchid seeds had to germinate with fungi? I mean, did he recognize the symbiosis?
No, not that he didn't go that far, but he knew, he obviously had observed that there was such a thing as orchid seeds.
With teeny things, yeah.
That he because an expert told me that it was clear in the text. Yeah. There are all kinds of firsts in there that that botanist. You have to prod them to get it out of them.
Well, if they know, they don't know. Mostly they don't know.
For instance, the pitcher plant. He was one of the first one to
recognize that there were little insects in there.
Yeah.
So if we look at Rumphius's total achievement, we have 1,700 plants described for their practical uses.
Yes, and also because they would have, many of them have disappeared. Because
many of the plants have disappeared in the region, or completely extinguished.
Because there is, these islands are mountainous, and they consist mostly of mountains, and there is a very narrow strip between the mountains and the sea, and that strip is where people live on. That's what they till. But as we all know, there's a population explosion, which is one of the problems we have, and that happened there too. And so when the population increased, they had to have more places to live, a larger part of land. So this was pushed back further and further. And of course, the first thing to be a victim would be the plants. So that there are many plants that Merrill said have already in 1917 were gone.
Merrill wrote the story of
Merrill
Rumphius?
was the first. E.D. Merrill is an amazing American botanist. He wrote the first taxonomic key to the entire herbal that had not been done before.